Beloveds, this space is a church for Daniel, an autism-friendly virtual oasis for your spirit. I hope we find a new way to do church together, a way that prioritizes people over traditions, a way that celebrates diversity and creativity, and a way that doesn't try to make anyone smaller or quieter. It's a church for my son, Daniel. It's a church for everyone, and it's a church for you.
You get like a 5-second delay on these things because you might need it.
What am I going to do with you? So anyway, so for another episode, yet another of A Church for Daniel, for this special episode, I invited my dear husband, Sean, to come join us. And if I'm not sick of him by the end of this podcast episode, I just might keep him.
And well, it's good to have faith.
Yes. But anyway, this episode is a church for Sean, because I asked Sean if he wanted to be on this podcast, and then he said, I was just waiting for you to ask.
I didn't say that.
So this is the level of, I guess, narcissism on Sean's end. He's always wanted to be on a podcast, baby.
Oh yeah, no, I've never been on TV before, so this is really exciting for me.
So for people who are not getting all of the inside jokes.
Oh, there's going to be lots of those.
There will be. 25 years is a very long time for inside jokes. We have inside jokes inside the inside jokes, but why don't you introduce yourselves to the viewers, Sean Allen Bowerman?
Hi, my name is Sean. I am the husband to this wonderful woman here, Pastor Natalie Ora Bowerman. We have been together, like she said, for 25 years, 15 of them married, 10 prior. So, you know, we really tested the waters before diving in head first.
But to be fair, we were 14.
Fair enough, yeah.
Getting married just then, I don't know if our parents would have gone for that, and it would have been illegal.
Oh, our hearts were singing, though, it was love at first sight.
It really was. It really was.
First thing I ever told this woman was she had a beautiful frame.
It's true. And he meant the kind that's made of wood that you put a picture inside of that you make in IT class, which we did in 8th grade. But yes. So, but also, aside from being my man, what else are you in the world?
As you can see, I am a Rochester resident at Channel 8 WROC.
Yeah, shout out to Brian Volk. He thought that was just hilarious that the shirt says Rochester resident.
Yes. I'm talking about an inside joke. If you were a Rochesterian, you might get it. We went a little viral. But
inside joke inside the inside joke.
Jokeception, yes. I am the chief engineer currently at WROC TV News 8. I've been with Nexstar going on about 15 years, getting close to 20 in the industry. My bread and butter was production, directing, anything and everything, audio, graphics, camera, editing, cursing, you know. I love what I do, and there was a short time where when you first became ordained, we ended up having to be called up to the Adirondacks, and I thought that was the end of my TV career.
Yeah.
And I ain't me without it. So that is something very vital to me as a person, me as a husband and father. I'm just a better guy when I'm working in television, and I'm semi-useful, to people. So that's a very brief example of who I am. I've got all kinds of skeletons in the closet I'm sure we'll get into. I'll talk your ear ad nauseum about my family and all kinds of embarrassing things, whether you want to hear them or not. So hopefully, again, editing. I've got Final Cut Pro on the iMac if you really need help.
And Sean will volunteer all kinds of information that you didn't ask for.
No, never.
That you absolutely didn't ask for.
Honest to a fault. It's part of who I am.
And also, for better or worse, Sean is an expert at exactly this kind of interface. So he helped me open up this program. He helped me hook. Yes, expert. The chief engineer.
Jack of all trades, master of none. That's how I've, carried myself throughout my entire career. Also, never wanted to ask anybody to do anything I couldn't do myself. I'm facing a reconciliation with that right now. I was just promoted to chief engineer in the beginning of January, and it really does feel like I'm kind of starting my career all over again. Got all kinds of tools in my tool belt, Now my pants are sagging more than they usually are because I'm getting more every day. So it's an exciting adventure, and it's been life-changing for our family.
So among other things, and to use, some metaphors here, Sean is learning the importance of suspenders.
We were just talking about that, actually. I never liked
Literally
belts,
just
yeah.
So we're going to have, we could turn this podcast into like one of those kinds of podcasts where we talk about like random things like the difference between belts and suspenders.
Oh, I thought you were going to make us like influencers, and we have like, products that we're trying to hawk at you because, they give us money.
There's a whole other kind of podcast.
Yeah.
And a whole other way to make money off of a podcast. But this isn't that kind of podcast.
I've got other kinds of products that I can recommend to people.
Oh, yes. And so, while we are setting up, so the tone and the theme of this podcast is about radical inclusion in the church, in the community, and in the world. And so I ask every person who's been on this podcast, so not just to talk to me about those themes, but also to create an episode that is that theme for you. So this is a church for Sean. So if we were going to make a church for Sean, it would probably happen right here in this room. And I was going to have us have a much more boring backdrop, but then Sean, set up the chairs and got all cute. And I like it because we're like perfectly framed in front of like his money shelf right here.
One of many.
Yes. But isn't that like a 500 Ghidorah behind me?
That is the most expensive figure I ever bought. Yes.
Yes. So anyway, I'm in front of a $500 dragon.
Money well spent.
Yes. So anyway, but also, so it's pretty, but more than being pretty, it's you. It's you, the most important thing.
I like being pretty.
But if we were going to have a church for Sean, it would be in one of two places. It would either be right in this room, in front of your collection with the things that you love the most in the world, besides, your wife and kids. Or...
I just wanted to see if you were going to break on that, but I couldn't keep a straight face.
Or it would be at Godzilla Fest.
Oh, G-Fest. My God.
Because when... I've only been to G-Fest once. Sean's been a couple of times.
3.
3 years in a row. And this year he gets to go to Kaiju Brooklyn in New York City. So we'll have to compare that experience. You'll have to tell me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
But if you've ever been to Godzilla Fest in Rosemont, which is a suburb of Chicago, very close to where we both grew up.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that in just a second. But it's very close to where we grew up. And when I walked in to the main event space, the vendor space, it's the space where you can buy $500 Ghidorahs. It's the space where you can buy all kinds of figures, including lots and lots of ones in this room. And Sean has spent that money, trust me. It's a place where you can also buy like really, really annoyingly clever shirts. It's also a place where you can nerd out. You can really nerd out in that place. And it was eye-opening for me when I walked into that vendor space. It was 3 years or so ago. And it was like Dorothy walking into Oz.
Yeah.
For me. Not because I've never seen a bunch of nerds before. I'm married to him and I'm also a Christian minister. So trust me, nerddom is all I do. I'm also a doll collector, so it's really all I do. But because of the enthusiasm, it is the thing that we are most anemic of in Christianity, in church spaces, is passion, enthusiasm, caring about something. Passion is the thing that we are lacking the most in Christian churches, especially frozen, chosen Protestant churches. Churches have been this place, and it's the one thing I bemoan the most in the ministry. Of all the things that you can bemoan in the ministry, it's the thing I bemoan the most, is how hard it is to get people to care.
Yeah.
How hard it is to get people to bring their passion inside the room with them and be their geekiest self and show that. We are a tradition where we think the most pious, reverent way that you could be at church is Bernie Sanders at the inauguration in your little metal folding chair with your little face mask and your mittens. And that is the demeanor that we bring in.
No judgment. We still feel the burn.
And yes. And, we made memes about it at the time that it came. I mean, it got memed to death, but in church circles, we said, Bernie with his mittens, that's Presbyterians enjoying a sermon.
Right.
Or United Methodists. Because we're not willing to go any higher on the excitement factor than Bernie and the mittens. Mm-hmm. That's all we're willing to do. But when I walked into that vendor space, the people were so excited. They were so happy. They were so passionate. Yeah. They were also much younger than the average churchgoer, way younger, because there were all ages. There were little babies there. Mm-hmm. There were senior citizens there. Yep. People who probably saw the original 1954 Godzilla in theaters, but then every single age in between, and a lot more of a concentration of people our age than we ever see in church.
Yeah.
And the people there were so happy and excited. It was palpable. You could feel it. My favorite of all the people that I saw when I was there were lots of people cosplaying. They were showing up as their favorite dinosaur. But my favorite was this lady who was cosplaying as Mothra, and she had the wings. So she was, putting her arms out like this, and she was doing the wings, and and people were like complete strangers were asking if they could take a picture with her, and not because she's like somebody famous or something, but because she's so cute. She's Mothra, and so she was like happily putting out the wings, like yay! And then people were taking pictures. Like it was so joyous.
Yes, it is.
And we don't get that joyous in church. We don't allow ourselves to release that. So a church for Sean, if it's not right here in this room with the things that Sean is so proud of, then it's in that space.
Yeah,
in that vendor space.
If I can expound on that just a little bit without talking constantly about Godzilla, which we could do.
Oh, we could do.
Easily, I could. So, and I really appreciated when you contextualize this for me after the first year, because we had brought the kids in a little bit, and it is a very overwhelming experience, as joyous as it is, and we ended up deciding in the future that might not be the most appropriate venue for them because of just how much humanity and monsters there are abound there. But everybody, and I've never had an experience at a con, or at least in my experience with G-Fest, where people go there and they're in a bad mood or they're apathetic. Like they could not be happier to be there, and you meet all kinds of wonderful walks of life and strangers that you would never have any interaction with before or after. Yep. That you could they're like your best friend, It's a really fun experience. It is overwhelming even for me. I normally in the last 2 years that I have gone, I would go first thing in the morning at the start of the vendors booth opening up there, and I'd stay probably till 1, maybe 3 o'clock, because it's sensory overload. And it's funny because I'm not into that sort of thing. After a while I'm cooked too, and I had to take breaks, and also there's just the financial side of it, because of course there's all kinds of things that you can invest in there. This is my sanctuary. I refer to it as such as the dad dungeon, because I know, at least I feel like man cave has a bit of a negative connotation to it. This is nothing but a nerd dome, so yeah, I love, and I've told Natalie this before, how everything is so still and silent, and yet there appears to be life in most everything, because in all the displays, a lot of them have like dioramas, and there's like scenes of fighting. There's plenty of like, yearbook styles where people are just standing in a row, but I wanted to give all the characters that I have here some kind of existence, so they their personalities come through, without it being a big chaotic mess, where there's lots of noise, or there's toys everywhere, or kids everywhere, or anything. I close the door, I lock the door, and I like to just sit in here and kind of absorb the atmosphere. And I reminisce about the memories that I've had, of course, with the things that I own, but the stories that are connected to them, So I don't know if I can define what a church for Sean is, but this is definitely one of the places where I can go and kind of clear my head, recharge, find some new focus, and just, have a minute to kind of devote myself into something that I am tremendously passionate about without feeling any kind of obligation whatsoever. And it's all just fun and for the love of the game, and it was good stuff. I used to be a toy photographer, and I got out of it because I kept putting onto myself like I'm a workaholic, as if it was like a job. not getting paid for it, and the reward you get for that might be a few likes or comments or something there. And it wasn't even that I was trying to impress other people. I had set a standard for myself that I just couldn't ever reach, because that tends to be kind of the way I operate. So I stopped that, because I don't want to have something that means so much to me and always is supposed to feel so good suddenly feel tarnished, or like work. And not that work is bad, but like that's supposed to be my time for me to just kind of have fun, which is something I struggle with. I'm not a very fun guy, I didn't even eat mushrooms, fun guy, puns. I didn't even eat mushrooms until I met this beautiful woman. And I love them now.
Inside jokes.
Yes.
Inside jokes inside the inside jokes.
Shout out to Brandy's if you're still in operation.
I don't know if that place
I don't know if it is either.
But it's worth giving some of our background to
Yeah,
the listeners,
absolutely.
especially because even parishioners don't necessarily know all of the whole the mythology of Natalie and Sean, because it goes back an entire quarter
It is a
century.
Greek tragedy sometimes, yes.
It has been.
Mm-hmm.
It has been. And then it's also been a comedy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been a rom-com.
Bottom line, you're my best friend no matter what.
You're mine.
I love you with all my heart.
I love you too.
I'm going to get very schmaltzy sometimes because this woman means the world to me.
Yes.
I've never met a more important person in my life, more compassionate. Just, you've changed me for the better, more ways than I think I've even been able to articulate in the 25 years we've been together.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll get that out of the way now. Or you can cut that out, whatever, it's fine. People aren't here for that, they want the dirt. Let's get to the scandals, come on.
Ooh, scandals.
Yeah.
Well, there was this one time that Sean didn't know that there actually is such a thing as Honey Nut Cheerios. He believed, and plain Cheerios. He believed all Cheerios were Honey Nut, and so a plain Cheerio was just maybe stale Cheerios or like particularly unflavorful Cheerios.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to feed him plain Cheerios, many of them, in order to convince him that they exist. So, but
I'll refrain from the story that is in
No.
my head right now.
no.
Yeah, no.
So anyway.
So if you log on and go to our Patreon, you can get exclusive content like the innermost thoughts that I carry with me when I can't be,
What am I going to do with you?
I have no idea. Yeah, like I told you, I've been waiting for this because I'm surprised you hadn't asked earlier. But now that we're doing it, I kind of get it. Because maybe you didn't want to introduce the world to your husband like this.
Even our daughter got to be on this podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Before you. So anyway.
Interviewing the rabbit.
Church for Stewie. That's what we need to do next. But anyway.
Yeah.
We met in middle school at Algonquin Middle School in Des Plaines, Illinois, which is a northwest suburb of Chicago. So when we talk about Godzilla Fest in Chicago being right in Rosemont, that's why.
Yeah.
Right next to where my parents still live.
Yep.
So that's the town that Sean and I grew up in. And I think we kind of met like in passing in the hallway in 6th grade, but didn't actually talk to each other until 8th grade. The first time that we ever talked, like Sean intimated earlier, it was when we were in shop class or industrial technology. And the final project for that class was to make a picture frame. But Sean decided he was too good to make a picture frame. So instead of making a picture frame, he made like a CD rack or some shit.
Yeah, I wanted to make a DVD rack, actually, but...
Yes. Oh, yes, because it was...
Wait, you dropped the first curse?
I did.
Oh, good, we just ripped the Band-Aid off that. Fuck this. Okay, here we go. Get the bleeps out now.
But it was the year 2000, so of course he wanted to be on the cutting edge of making a DVD rack.
That aged well.
Gosh, at least you didn't fill it up with like Teletubby DVDs or some shit. Oh my gosh. But anyway.
I'm really surprised you dropped 2 S-bombs already.
I have said baddies on this podcast
Oh, have
before.
you? You naughty girl.
You haven't gone back and listened to the old episodes. So anyway, Sean decided he was too good to make a picture frame, so he made a DVD rack, which he also didn't get to keep. And
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did?
I lost it from years, but I had it for years after. But yeah.
Okay. So anyway, he did get to keep it. My bad.
Somewhere around there, the point was that we were trying to reach, but we've long since gone off the beaten path here.
So I was doing the mainstream project, the project that you didn't want to do, and I was some chick he'd never talked to before that he didn't know very well. I was sitting next to some people he did know well, but I was kind of on my own and just sort of burning Natalie into my picture frame and, polishing it and trying to make it look pretty. It didn't look pretty, but I was trying. And Sean, and he was a 13-year-old boy, and 13-year-old boys are assholes. So they just are. So this is what surprised me so much about our first interaction. Is you didn't have any reason to talk to me. You didn't have to. What I was making really was not a work of art, and it wasn't even what you were doing anyway. But he walked past me, looked at my picture frame, and told me, "Hey, that looks nice."
It did.
And he gave me a very kind, very sincere compliment. And I had really never experienced that from a boy before. They just don't do that at that age unless they have ulterior motives. And Winnie the Pooh over here really didn't.
I did not.
And so I don't think he even remembers this moment beyond maybe just me telling you the story.
No, I would be lying if I said I did.
Yeah, but I remembered it.
Yep.
And I remembered that it was him. Because some of my friends knew him. And knew him to be kind of a card. But that was our first interaction. He told me my frame looked nice. And he has been no less smooth since then.
Yes.
Smooth as butter. Then the next time that we talked, it was second quarter, and this rotating special class that we were in was home economics, second quarter. And in home economics, one of the things that we did was a consumer product comparison class. So our teacher put out, she put out a Pepsi and a Coke, and then she put out, different competing brands of a couple of different items, and she had us as double blind consumers going into the class, and she covered up all the labels on everything, and we were supposed to do taste tests of these things, and then say which one we like better, and to give us just some consumer education. And so one of them was peanut butter, and she had Jif, and then she had Skippy. And I figured out very quickly which one was Jif and which one was Skippy because I love peanut butter so much, and I always have. And there's nothing beats Jif. Skippy can't compare. So anyway, so one spoonful of Skippy, and that was all I needed to know that was the inferior peanut butter. And no one was looking, so I went back with, another clean spoon and took another spoonful of the Jif, and then a third, then a fourth. And then Sean came over and said, well, of course, for scientific reasons, you really can't just take one, sample of the Jif. And so I knew he was watching me. He was sitting there watching me. And also that he was really funny. So that was the second time that we talked. And then the next quarter, that class was art. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we interacted much during art, but you were sitting next to our mutual friend, Laura. Yep. Shout out to Laura.
No, this I actually do remember. Funny enough.
Yes. And Laura didn't like you.
No.
So
God bless her.
So Laura would sit next to Sean in art, and Sean would drive her crazy just being himself. And then Laura would sit next to me later in the day in math, and she would complain about things in the world happening. And one of the deep conversations Laura and I had as two 14-year-old 8th grade girls was one day she just said, I just don't know if dating's even possible for me. I just think all the good men are gone now. There's no good boys left. I mean, maybe Sean Bowerman, if he wasn't so immature. So she name dropped him. I swear she name dropped you. And around that same time, the Valentine's Day dance happened in 8th grade. And we all went as singles. I had a very close girl group of friends. And I went wearing a black sleeveless shirt with a silver glittery butterfly on it, and a black mini skirt and black platform leather boots. And I felt like the hottest thing next to the sun.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And Sean went single. You were probably wearing a Hawaiian shirt or something. You know, something that 14-year-old Sean would wear.
I don't remember, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was hanging out with my girl group, and recently Sean had sent a Valentine to our friend Becky. Shout out to Becky. And so Becky was not really feeling this whole Sean sent her a Valentine thing, because she told us, our girl group, well, I like him, but I don't like him.
Oh no, she wonder years me.
She wonder years him. And so then she gave us strict orders that we had to be her security detail at this dance and not let Sean Bowerman anywhere near her. And so we had to shun you all night long. And teenage girls, they're good at shunning. So I was part of the shun squad that night, but I felt bad for you because you were just sitting there looking like, but I didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings with my Valentine. And then the very next dance, he was my date. So then the next quarter was music class, and this was the end of the school year, and our final project in music class was to do a presentation about any band.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean did the Beatles, and I never ironically got to see your presentation because it was on a computer, and it was like the computer was broken that day or something, so I don't even remember this part. Yeah, I never actually got to see your presentation on the Beatles.
I mean, I don't even remember giving it. I know I did, but that's funny.
I did my project on the Monkees.
With those IMAX that had the color.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The see-through color shells.
Oh my god.
Yes. And the time machine, we're bringing you right back. And so I did mine on the Monkees. I did it on a poster board, old school style.
Yes, I remember yours.
So that it could actually just be brought into the classroom. And you loved my presentation.
Mm-hmm, I did.
You were one of the only people in the class who actually paid attention to it, because everyone else was like, I don't care about these old people.
I know, 98 Degrees was out.
Yeah, no, I feel like one of our classmates did 98 Degrees. One of our classmates did the Backstreet Boys.
Cisco was probably famous at that time.
Cisco was definitely very famous. He was at the height of his fame. One of our classmates did a presentation on Britney Spears.
So shocking.
I actually appreciate more than I did at the time because of everything that Brit has been through since then.
Oh,
but
fair enough.
But I was surprised that nobody else, like they could do any musical act, but nobody else did classic rock.
Yeah.
It just, and it feels like it's very much like a teen, like pre-teens in the early aughts thing, because I feel like if you asked a group of adults now to do a presentation on any rock band, like some of the classic rock ones would be the first ones you'd think of. Like, oh, I'll do mine on like Led Zeppelin, because
sure.
There's so much, you could do just so much research on them because they've been around for such a long time. There's so much depth to dig into, whereas somebody who just started recording, like I'm going to do my presentation on I don't know what the hell the kids listen to these days. I'm going to do my presentation on Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah, that was the first thing that came to my mind too, funny enough.
So and I know that she actually has been recording for a minute, but there's just not anywhere near that depth of history, so you wouldn't have as many sources to draw from. So that's how I think. I don't know. But anyway, Sean complimented me profusely on my presentation about
I do remember it, really.
And also, our mutual friend Matt, shout out to Matt, wherever the hell he is.
Which one?
Winter.
I thought this you were talking about. Okay.
Yes. So he...
eat my words. I thought that's who you were talking about.
Yes. But anyway, our mutual friend Matt had us talk to each other because he said, well, Sean did his on the Beatles, I did mine on the Monkees. We should have just done them together because the Monkees and the Beatles are the same thing. But, we were already kind of talking to each other every day because I picked the seat right behind you because you were sitting right next to Matt and I wanted to sit near Matt, and I was also sitting right next to Laura, so Laura was there too. And so, we were exchanging little jokes with each other every day.
Oh, yeah.
I also remember that when Matt made that joke that the Monkees, we should have just done the Monkees and Beatles presentations together because they're the same. I, as just a self-conscious 14-year-old girl who had been bullied for liking oldies music, mom music, what I was expecting was, okay, well, this, casual flirting relationship is over now. It was nice while it lasted. But Sean was wearing like a Weird Al shirt that day or something.
Oh, shocking.
And it turned around to me, and back when Sean could turn his head, turned around to me. And his response, 14-year-old boy, was, well, actually, no, the Monkees and the Beatles were quite different, but they did do drugs together.
Yeah, that does sound like something I would have said at that age.
So you took me completely seriously.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You took what I loved completely seriously.
Well, you were my friend, you know.
Yeah.
I knew that we had already started to build a connection there as
Yeah.
just friends. Of course, on the first date, I kissed you, but
But yeah, nobody had ever done that for me before,
Mm.
and you did. So I knew that this man was very exceptional,
Mm.
and there was just a very important part of me that said, no, I need to take this very seriously because there are not a lot of Sean Bowermans in the world.
I really thought you were going to turn me down when I asked you to the dance that year.
So yeah, so then like a week later,
Yeah.
Sean asked me to the dance, and he was so smooth.
I was so nervous.
But so smooth. He said, "Are you going to the dance? You mean that thing everyone's going to?"
Yeah.
Yeah, dumbass, I'm going. Would you like to go with me? And of course I said yes. The only other person in the school who knows what the monkeys are and doesn't make fun of me for it. Of course. And then Sean over here bought my dance ticket, which was $5 whole. And I was like, oh my God, he's rich too. And that night he asked permission to kiss me on the cheek.
I did.
And so that was the end of 8th grade. And then we were together through all of high school. And then we...
You thought I was unhinged before. My God,
then-
those 4 years.
Oh, yes.
Some of the out-of-pocket things I said and got away with, I kind of hard to believe that's the same me,
Yeah.
you know?
But then we moved part of the way across the United States to go to college in Rochester, New York together.
Yep.
And stayed together through all of college. And then at the end of college, I proposed to Sean. I proposed to Sean.
Yep.
And then we got engaged. And then we were engaged for the beginning of seminary. And then we got married when I was still in seminary. So in 2011. So 15 years ago.
She proposed with a Claddagh ring, if you don't know what that is, and I don't have it because this is my wedding ring. I don't have my engagement ring on my finger. It just feels weird to do that with a wedding ring. Easy for me to say.
Yes, and a Claddagh puzzle ring, too.
Yeah, no, that's what I wanted to say. It was such a cool thing, you know.
So it was two hands that went together like this,
Yep.
and if you open the hands, the heart was in the middle.
Yep.
So, 8 years we were together before we got engaged. Then engaged for 2 years, and now married for 15. And now we have 3 beautiful children.
We have 3 children.
Yes.
Yes.
And then that brings us to, kind of the name and the theme of this podcast, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
So we became parents in 2014, and this has been
So we were 27 apiece, I think?
27.
My God.
I know, we were babies.
We really
so
were,
young.
yeah.
We were so young. And, we had a very, 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 very difficult birth experience.
I'll get the cute thing out of the way now because she doesn't even remember this.
I don't.
But, as we were getting into the hospital and Daniel was about to come into the world, thank God, they had a player piano in the lobby there, and it was playing Here Comes the Sun.
Which was our song.
It was, we have a couple songs, but that one was a pivotal one in our life. But it was also really apropos because Here Comes the Sun, But, yeah, go ahead. We can get into the hard parts here.
Yeah, well, I won't undig all of that, frankly, because I can't. But, but while we were walking into the lobby, and Sean was like, "Oh, listen to the music playing on the piano." Like, I had been laboring at home for 12 hours, and I was 10 centimeters dilated when I got there. No epidural, and I told Sean, I'm in a little too much pain to give a shit what song is playing in the lobby, darling. But after a very traumatic birth experience and ultimately an emergency C-section and a placental abruption, Daniel James entered the world. And life has not slowed down since then.
No.
We were recovering from so many things, from a very, very, very difficult birth experience, all of the trauma that my body had undergone, all the trauma that both of our minds and hearts had undergone. And then we came home to, and also that Daniel needed extra help too while we were in the hospital.
Yep.
He had for so many things. He was a little early. He had aspirated meconium during the labor. He needed light therapy.
Billy Rubin.
Yeah, because he had jaundice.
Yep.
And then he had feeding issues, and then I got an infection. So we were in the hospital for a while. And when we finally went home, we weren't out of the woods. We were back and forth to various specialist offices and in and out of the hospital because Daniel was still having long-term issues with his jaundice, and then he was anemic in a couple of ways. And so we were having, everyone was having health problems here. And on top of that, we also had a very colicky baby.
Yeah.
That was the only explanation they gave us because I have no memories before Daniel's 4 weeks old of him doing anything but screaming his head off.
Pretty much,
Except for 5 minutes at a time when he would fall asleep.
Well, I mean, I don't know if this was in the 4 week span because the first 2 weeks we didn't sleep, and and I've said this before to other folks that are considering or expecting the whole cliche of, the first couple of weeks are hard. No, they're a fucking nightmare. Just be prepared. God love them. Children, when humans are born into this world, it is.
But then not necessarily.
It's like a giraffe. They drop you out and you're screaming all the way down,
And yet, not necessarily, because that wasn't our experience with either Lillian or Alexander, our other two children.
No, and we didn't know, we didn't know everything about Daniel at the time there. But also being new parents, after being with Daniel, it was like wearing, weighted clothes, when you're working out. And then we get the other two kids, and this isn't as bad, but
yeah, no.
What I was going to say was
we walked into Lily and Xander's births in full battle fatigues in the army, expecting whatever the hell happens here, we're ready for it, and it was like they shot us with one Nerf dart, boot, and they were like, that's it.
Except for right before Lily was born, she wanted to remind us that just because things are going well, I'm still going to be the baby of the family for the time being.
So we had one moment in that.
The doctors there talking about how. Yeah, was it OBGYN or was
it was one of the OBs.
OBs,
He was trying to convince me because I had gone into my water broke before the scheduled repeat C-section I was supposed to have with Lily, and they were sitting there trying to talk me out of the plan I'd made.
Yep.
At the last minute. Thank you. But anyway, they were sitting there trying to talk me out of the birth plan that I had painstakingly made over the course of 9 months and say, but the baby's doing great and you're already in labor. Why don't you just do a trial of labor? You could have a VBAC. And then right then.
Yeah, right at that moment, then, on cue.
Lily's heart rate started plunging. And it turns out it was a cord accident. She was on her umbilical cord, and so rotating my body rotated her off her cord, and then it recovered.
And the doctor's like this. He's saying all these things there and really just trying to assure you that, you could do this,
Just because you had a horrible experience with Daniel doesn't mean anything dangerous
will be fine. And then he looks up at the monitor and goes, and you could probably forget about everything I just said. We got to get you in now.
And so then after that, after we alleviated that scare, and I didn't have to be rushed in for another frantic C-section, I looked at this guy and said, "You were saying?"
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have already more than made my point, and the baby made it for me why I want a repeat C-section and not a trial of labor. I am done trying labor. Thank you very much.
Just to circle back to the point I originally was going to make, and then got totally sidetracked. And it's a small one at that, but I remember, and I don't remember how long it went for, when it started and when it ended, but there was a time while we were in... There was a time where we were in the throes of Daniel's infancy, and he would not sleep without somebody holding him.
Yeah.
So you would sleep at night, and I would stay up with him and watch Adult Swim. So I got my daily dose of cartoons that way. But then I would sleep during the day, and we would tag team there because Daniel constantly he needed that pressure. He could not, no matter what you did, get this, to sleep on independently.
And these were really the first clues that Daniel was autistic, and we just didn't know that. Because unlike with a lot of other developmental disabilities, you don't know somebody is autistic at birth, before birth, or shortly after. If he had had a different developmental disability, like say Down syndrome, that would have been diagnosed, if not in utero, then as a newborn.
Yeah.
And we would have been armed with this piece of information that this is a baby with a disability, and so things are going to be different, and some things are going to be harder. So you need to be prepared for that. Also, we would have been, that much earlier lined up with specialists who
Yep.
would have walked us through the journey. But with autism, you don't have
Even
that.
when we got into early intervention, though, his mentors, his tutors, excuse me, they weren't certain whether or not it was worth pursuing.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the thing that led me to keep pushing it?
Oh,
The Moro reflex?
okay. Yes.
Yes.
That is fine. So among the things,
Because I just couldn't get my head past this, that there was something off. And nothing wrong with Daniel, but there was something other than he's just delayed.
yeah. And so with Daniel, as this diagnosis story,
Yep.
Daniel, more than our other two children, had this reflex called the Moro reflex that all babies are born with. And so all three of our kids had it, but Daniel's was definitely the strongest as a newborn. It's a startle reflex.
Yep.
That anything that touched him, anything that made any noise, anything that got his attention, he would immediately starfish out. Arms and legs both, completely extended. And he would go into that shock reflex a lot.
Yep.
And babies outgrow that. That reflex goes away because it gets integrated with all of your body's other reflexes, so you stop doing the starfish every time somebody surprises you.
Yep.
But Daniel's didn't go away. He was still starfishing well into his toddler years, and more than that, anytime that he was shocked by something,
Yep.
he would then start getting a little physical about it.
Yep.
Including like grabbing his sister, things
Who
like
was
that.
just 2 years younger.
Yeah. So and so then that really was like, yeah, there's something here that just isn't right at all.
And he would do that also for her sake. I swear he was
Yeah.
trying to calm her down sometimes
Yeah.
when she was crying by like grabbing her and pushing her and squeezing her. It's
Yeah,
just-
like giving her deep pressure.
Exactly,
To
you
try
know.
to make her feel
And
better.
I understand what that
Yeah.
is now, after the diagnosis and years of this, but like that at the time it was just like no matter, whatever kind of speech issues he had, because he didn't talk until well after he was 2.
Yeah.
Or any other kind of developmental delays he might, something doesn't feel right about that like,
Yeah, and also one of the times that you saw him starfish out when he was a newborn, he was maybe a week old at most. You actually looked at me, and it was when we had both had 45 minutes of sleep at most. And you said, "Do you think he might be autistic?"
I don't remember that. Did I really say
You
that?
did, and it
Oh
was
my
just
God.
because of the way that he was moving his arms and the way he was moving his hands.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just his physical movements that kind of rung that bell for Sean. And at the time, I said, I mean, he's just too young for us to know that.
Right.
Which wasn't wrong, but Sean was right.
I can't believe I said that.
And
Wow.
he picked up on that Moro reflex, that was a clue. And so, we pursued early intervention starting when Daniel was 2, and it quickly steamrolled into more and more and more and more and more therapies, which is common for very small children that are on the verge of an autism diagnosis. That, no, this isn't just a speech issue. This is also a cognitive issue. This is also a physical therapy issue. This is also an OT issue. This is also a music therapy issue. This
Yep.
is also a special ed issue. So then it became, okay, now clearly it's not just that he's a little delayed on his speech. There's something global.
One of the biggest
going on
reliefs
here.
I had as an adult
Yeah.
was after we had the testing there, and the doctor asked, "Well, what do you think?" And I said, "Well, I think he might be autistic." And she goes, "Of course he is." It's like, oh, thank God, because like,
And that was really affirming of
Exactly.
the doctors, because they looked after all of the data they had on Daniel after doing this whole battery test of diagnostics. What they did was turn to us and say, "What do you think the answer
Right,
is?
right.
Do you think your child is on the autism spectrum?" And we said yes. And it just affirmed everything that we knew within
Yep.
us. And so I because I know other people who have not had an affirming journey to either finding out that their child was on the spectrum or finding out that they themselves were on the spectrum, and I grieve that because we did. We were lifted
Yep.
by the doctors that pointed that out to us, and then sent on our way to find more supportive people.
well, especially as new parents, and of course Lily was still so young when Daniel
Yeah.
got diagnosed. You don't know until you know. You're gonna make mistakes constantly, but you're still trying, and you want to do what's best for your kid and your family. And after a while, you start questioning, "Am I doing something wrong here?" And of course I am, but not to that degree that,
No.
like, again, the Murrow reflex was the big thing. Like, was there some kind of aggression that I showed? Like, I'm a wrestling fan. Like, did he see something that, he wants to put somebody in a sleeper hold now every day of his life? Like, what is causing this? And then, of course, the nonverbal side of it, like, are we not teaching him right? Is there
Yeah.
something that we're doing wrong that is holding him back,
And he was our oldest, so we had nothing to compare
Exactly,
this to.
yeah.
Whereas, Lily, by the time she was 2 years old, was a wordsmith.
Yep.
She was saying all kinds of things by that age.
Yep.
And, really, to foster speech development in a developmentally typical child, especially a very intelligent child like Lily,
Mhm.
you talk to your kids, you read to your kids, you sing to
Exactly.
your kids.
Oh, yeah.
They talk to, other people talk to them. They hear things on TV. They listen to music, and they pick up language like a sponge because that is what a developmentally typical brain is
Right.
wired to do. Is
Right.
figure out this thing that other people are doing and then repeat it. And then figure out a system of language that works with it, and then keep building it. For neuroatypical people, for neurodivergent people, that works differently. Your relationship with expression is different. And so, as we've gotten older, Daniel has continued to be in speech therapy. He's still in PT, he's still in OT, he's still in music. So he has, this squadron of therapists and all of this help. He's in a self-contained special education class. Exploring what the future of that is going to look like as he gets older, because he's 12 now. And what teenagerhood would look like for him, what young adulthood could look like for him. And also, he's only 2 years younger now than we were when we started dating.
That's... Oh, boy. Anybody ever watch Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? Because I just felt like the guy drinking from the wrong grail here for a second. Wow. Whoo, boy.
So in 2 years, he could bring home, a girlfriend, a boyfriend. And...
See, I wonder about that, because I know that that's certainly a possibility. That's a thing, though, that, like, for me, I haven't quite wrapped my head around yet. I think almost probably on the other side of things, like, I'm a girl dad, and, like, you don't want your kids, getting too, into it early, but, like, we talked about our earliest time together. We talked about our earliest time together with our children. We didn't really talk about the middle of it. And long story short, for those who don't know, I'm estranged from all of my blood relatives. And the biggest reason for that, and there's many, is that they did not approve of this wonderful person in front of me here. It caused what we refer to as the winter of our discontent, which was a very difficult time in our lives. And I don't know how comfortable you are with me saying stuff like this, but I think about it all the time, frankly. I try not to, but I do, because it was a point where I was standing at a crossroads, a fork in the road there, and made the right choice. You saved my life. I would not have the life that I have right now, and we certainly wouldn't have the life we have right now without you, for everything you fought for our kids, for me, for your spirituality, for my career. But none of that would even be in the conversation if, during our engagement, things had gotten to a different point where another decision was made, ultimately. Because I wanted you to be happy, and we weren't happy for a while. Long story short, when my children find people in their life that mean something to them the way you meant to me for so much of my life, I am going to support them with every fiber in my soul. And I worry that I might be a little bit too accepting because of that, But, yeah, I think about that, and I think about how I'm going to react to it, because I want to do nothing more than to lift them up, and they find people in their lives that make them happy and that are special to them, and make them a better person like you did for me. I don't want there to be anything that I do, at least, that's going to hinder that, because I've seen what that does, and I don't ever want to face it again. I certainly don't want to be behind it. So, you had listed a couple of questions to me that we could potentially. This is all staged, by the way. We rehearsed it, and no, I'm kidding.
We wrote a whole script.
Yeah, exactly. We would do that though for our church. What the heck is the sermon that you do where I'm the jerk and you're the Les Jerk. I can't remember. Who is it?
Oh, so we have done a tag team
Yes.
sermon together where Sean is the Pharisee.
I'm a Pharisee. That's
He's
right.
a
Yeah.
Pharisee in a temple who's so proud of himself, and I'm a tax collector, and I'm so shamed, and
Yeah, we're just gonna push you. Oh, I was trying to push you
Right
out
out
of
of the
frame,
frame.
but I'm not gonna make it.
What did you learn?
Not much.
But yeah. We wrote a whole script for
Yeah.
this, including Sean, having this tender moment. I love you, babe.
I love you with all my heart, Natalie. Thank you for everything you have done for me and our family. As we have many our songs, our first was "Wouldn't It Be Nice," and at that time, "Wouldn't It Have Been Nice?" God, I was
By the Beach Boys.
Yes, thank you for the contextualization there. If no one didn't know that, because obviously, music is such a core part of our relationship here, and yet the oldies seem to be the ties
Yeah.
that bind. So maybe not everybody gets that reference. Anyway, boy, I wanted to just run off and marry you in high school so many times, and those messages are still very salient, but I do think, despite one lyric in this song, which you know which one I'm referring to, I just don't like that they included this, despite how it might feel to them, but God only knows where I'd be without you.
And also then when we were engaged and we were going through that hard time, our song was "Here Comes the Sun" by the Beatles.
Yep, and which I alluded to its importance, and the fact that song was playing when Daniel was about to be born meant even more to me on that level. But also, it was just very thematically consistent. Natalie, however, was not in the right headspace and heart space for that.
Yeah.
So
But
music has always been very important to us, and
it always has been. It's a binding force.
It
And
is.
Here we are now. I am an ordained minister. Sean is chief engineer at WROC. We have 3 beautiful children who are thriving, and they're doing what they do.
what I was
Yeah.
going to say was,
Yes.
and I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm going to. The question that
always
you
do.
sent me, and I've been pondering it, I don't have a good answer, so I'm really going to muddle through this. Again, editing. That really got me was, what am I most proud of, most proud dad moments?
Yes, and to contextualize this,
Oh my God.
I knew that when we sat down and talked about our relationship and our parenting journey.
You need to get closer. I pushed you out.
Yes, you did.
And the bunny that pushes other bunnies.
He does.
Yeah.
But we knew that we'd have no shortage of stories about times that we fell flat on our faces as parents.
Yeah.
And times that we felt like we had no idea what the hell we were doing. Like we were just it was all bad. But we weren't but also I knew that we're not being fair to ourselves when we focus on those stories, on the harder stories, on the war stories, that we, when you build hope for the future, for yourself, for your family, and then for the church, you should also look at these glorious moments, these proud moments, these loving and light moments. And you have plenty of them. So I challenged Sean to try to think of a few of those stories too, because I knew it would not come intuitively at all. But Sean, among so many things, you have been such a resilient dad and husband and engineer. And engineering is all about finding a solution when the thing you're trying to do isn't working. It's all about just trying to find new ways to do things. That's what engineering is. And that is what autism parenting is. It is just constantly going, nope, this doesn't work. And it's the thing that everyone is doing. It's the thing the doctors are telling us we're supposed to do.
Yep.
It's the thing all the parenting experts are telling us to do, but it does not work for this child. So what can we do instead? How can we Rube Goldberg something together that will work for our Daniel, and then for our Lily, and then for our Alexander? And you masterfully have kept going, and you have refused to give up. When it meant trying to find new therapies, when it meant advocating for Daniel in spaces where people were going to say, like, well, it's just not available. There isn't staffing for that. The resources, there's a long wait list. It's just not going to happen. You have fought to get Daniel what he needed.
Oh, thank you.
At home, at school, in medical settings. And you are so proud of our kids. You're supportive. You have built a relationship with Daniel from the ground up. And, you know, figuring out how to communicate and how to build a bond is, you know, despite what glowy, you know, parenting influencers will tell you on the internet, it's not actually always that straightforward. You know, figuring out how to have a relationship with your kids.
Oh my God.
It's something that you really have to work on every single day. And Daniel, you know, Sean calls me the Daniel Whisperer.
Yep.
Because of the two of us, I really am the one that he's kind of pushed all the language out of the picture, and he's figured out how to kind of just almost telepathically communicate with me.
And emotions are so hard for him to articulate.
Yeah.
With you, he not only can he do that at his best, but he doesn't even necessarily sometimes has to. He has that intuitive, that innate, that instinct that normally comes with childhood and rearing and growing up in a family. But with his special needs, he is very closed off to people sometimes.
Yeah.
He likes to look at people and just kind of people watch, kind of like the whole world is a zoo, and he just kind of observes them. But with Mommy, he has an actual deep connection.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so then with Sean, he's had to figure out how to not be on the other side of the glass.
Oh boy.
And you've built it. You have your daddy duffer days, and you two play video games together.
Yes, the same 6 levels of Mario Wonder every
and
night.
That's fine. And you go on errands together, and you're teaching him how to be a big boy.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate as any good wife would, especially you answering the question for me. But as far as my proudest dad moments. What I was going to say...
Zootopia thing. First, you ask them the question that you want them to ask you, and then
yes.
you answer that question.
Ah, yes, public speaking 101. Yeah, it's... Was it a difficult marriage? Yes. Yes, it was. What I was going to say, because I really did try to put some thought into it, and I appreciate the engineering comparison that you made. And part of the current journey that I'm on, not spiritual necessarily, but I look at television to be, News 8 saved my life as much as my wife did on 2 occasions, because the first place that I worked with, and no disrespect to them, I was working full-time with no benefits. So my first real, full-time job in the industry was Channel 8. And then when we had to come back from Albany, first person I called was the news director, who's one of my best friends there, and I know they pulled some strings to help get me back in there, because there wasn't a position waiting for me on the production side, but there was in engineering. And lo and behold, I'm right back to there. But it's God. I'm not me without television. If you've ever watched the movie The Wrestler, you know how the movie ends. It's a little ambiguous, but Randy the Ram isn't Randy the Ram without wrestling. He's just Robin Brzezinski, and I'm not me without TV. Thing I was going to say, though, about being a dad and engineering, one of the challenges that I'm facing is knowing how to ask the question when I don't have the answer for the question that's take 2. Knowing how to... We'll just edit.
And then we'll have a blooper reel at the end.
Why not? Just like the old Toy Story ones, when they had to, actually animate the bloopers. I'm really dating myself, but you dated me for a while, so I guess I'm not the only one. Knowing how to ask the questions to get the answers to the questions you don't have the answers to, and whom to ask those questions with. And I'm going to give a shout out to 2 gentlemen. I try not to get emotional, but too late for that. Man named Carl Christensen, who was my therapist when I called the EAP for help when I needed it with both work and life balance. He helped me work through and reconcile and understand my childhood traumas that I faced, which I could not be a good dad without facing those, in my humble opinion. And then another gentleman named John O'Grady, who, when I was still struggling with Daniel, and not that I don't still struggle with him sometimes, but really struggling with the boy, I reached out to him in Albany as a therapist, and he really helped me, give me the tools for coping and analyzing and knowing kind of where your choke point is in a situation, to recognize the truth of what's happening, take the emotion out of it, because parenting feels incredibly personal, even on the smallest, detail of things. When you're in the throes of a meltdown, everything feels like it is right there in your face. This is about you, and you're the problem. And yeah, it's
And you have to depersonalize it.
yeah. So those two gentlemen helped me out tremendously, become the man that I like to think that I am today. The last person, though, that I always turn to and will forever in my lifetime is you. So while one of the proudest moments of my life as a parent, I think, was seeking help, getting it, and growing from it, as a husband and a partner with you, I look back on our talks when things were not rosy. You told me exactly where to stick it when I was being the asshole that I could be, but, not in a fun way. I grew from those talks, and I'm so grateful that our communication has always been so honest and always full of love, even when we had to talk about things that we knew the other person wasn't going to want to hear. Those are probably the most important talks in my entire life. When it comes to my spiritual journey, which was another question that was on that list there, I hate to say this, you certainly know it's the truth, and I'm honest with people, because again, I'm honest to a fault. I wasn't supportive of you the way I should have been. Of course, I wanted you to succeed, but church wasn't really my bag. And there's a number of reasons for that, but it didn't help you that I was so obstinate and disrespectful and did not, again, Carl Christensen, these are your words exactly, I did not see the value in what you did. And I was dead wrong about that. And even when I knew it, I still needed to work hard to turn myself around and be the pastor's husband and support you in every way, shape, and form that I can, because you do such good in an institution where you're not always given the tools that allow you to fly as high as you certainly could. You still do so much good. You get blood from a stone every, I'm going to try to stop cursing, effing week, with your sermons, which I've always appreciated. You're such a great storyteller, and you do raise my spiritual limits. I don't know if that's quite the right way I want to phrase that, but
Your spiritual ceiling, maybe.
ceiling. That's good. Thank you. Again, good talker. She talked good. God, I won't name names as far as churches, but I know which church it was where I started to turn around and really embrace it. And then that was a church that we couldn't stay in forever. And the next one we went to, I was even working for you.
Yeah.
And I loved doing it. I was secretary? I don't know if that's really the right term.
Secretary.
Pardon me. But I would fill out the pamphlets, I would design those, I would send those out, I would get to do all kinds of, clerical work and things. And I really enjoyed it. And it wasn't you that made the job hard, so
Yeah.
that was at that point there that I had kind of reality pushed back on me as far as me being in faith. Oh God, though, fun story, and it's not even like a specific case, but one of the best times that we've had together, I think, spiritually, is the annual conference, and I miss those days because her and I would sit in plenary. Thank you. And we would do this quietly throughout the whole thing.
We'd pass notes.
Oh my God.
We'd be right back in middle school again.
And I just love being with my best friend, and I love supporting you. I love what you do, and it makes me so mad to think there was a time where I couldn't say that with all my heart and honesty. One of those talks, and you know which one I'm going to refer to as well on this. Of course she does. She knows everything about me. But, I had no ill intention of telling you should not go into work that day, that Sunday, because it was dangerous. The weather conditions, you got to drive all the way out into the Finger Lakes there, and there's snow and ice, and I just don't want you to get hurt. And no, not only was that not acceptable, even though I did not have any of this in my heart and soul at the time, on the drive home, you told me exactly where your head was and your heart was about my place in your faith journey, and how that was hurting you, because I had done that many times where it's like, oh, I have to go to church, I have to wake up so early in the morning, oh my God, we got to drive all the way out there, and I have no problem putting in the work. I love working. Unfortunately, I didn't love church, or working for the church for a while early on. So it's a rambling thought there, and I'm leaving out some parts there because I don't want to make you too uncomfortable on your own podcast. Yeah, I know. I would never, ever want to poke the bunny bear. But, God, I am so sorry for all the challenges that we've faced. I know so many couples go through things like that. And it's brought us, for one reason or another, to where we are today. So I don't necessarily regret them or wish I could change them. There's one thing I absolutely wish I could change. But, God,
I think we've just grown together.
I do too, and I'd like to think that with your help and with your unwillingness to accept a reality that you knew was there, but just needed to be worked for, I have grown back into the man that I always dreamed of being when I first met you. There's a lot of things that you face growing up. And, I love all my mentors from college, but every single one of them said I needed to get out of Rochester to get a job in television. And that meant pretty much not thinking about our future. And that was tough because I was bombarded by that growing up. They were wrong, God bless them, and no disrespect. But, no, I'm not home if I'm not with you. And no matter where we go, no matter what we end up having to do, I am very confident that our life will continue to grow together and be positive and full of love. And no matter what, we will take care of our kids, we will take care of each other, we will do everything to keep a roof over our head and our bellies full. God, I love you so much, Natalie, and I shudder to think what my life would be like if I had never met you, if we had gotten engaged and then decided not to get married, because I knew we were going to get engaged after I met you. I was really praying that, you were going to be the one. I remember the first time I told you I love you. I was just so nervous, but I couldn't hold it any longer. I called you instead of seeing you face to face because I just couldn't wait anymore. Like, you were just always the most special person in my life, and you always will be. Thank you for being you.
Thank you for being you, baby. Now, turning this in the direction of a church for Daniel, a church for Sean.
A church for Natalie would be nice, too.
A church for Natalie would be nice. A church for everyone would be nice. A church for you would be nice.
Yeah.
It's the tagline for this ministry. What would church have to look like to be a church for Sean? To be able to love all of you for exactly who you are, and you have been getting to know this man that I love very much. This man who is an avid Godzilla collector. This man who is a dad to 3 kids, one of whom has special needs. This man who has had the same life partner for 25 years when he's only 38 years old.
I'm not even 39 yet. I thought I was turning 40 this year. That was really disappointing me.
I know. You're turning 39 in April. So
when can my age match my hairline? My God.
Well, that would mean that the age is winding back.
It's like daylight saving time. Do you jump forward or do you sprint back?
But this man who has had many different jobs in the TV industry and is now a chief engineer, who has climbed up that ladder with grit and loyalty and integrity.
Thank you.
What would a church have to look like to be able to contain the multitudes that are you?
It's difficult because I think I'm immediately a contradictory of my own self, because I want the church to be filled with love. I don't want it to be a stodgy experience that has to be done a very certain way. I want it to be warts and all. One of my favorite things, when is this? It's like is it the hymn sing that we do? Yeah, but like when you sing at church, you don't have to be a good singer. And I feel like that is kind of the thesis for what it should be like for everything in church. And yet, I actually do kind of like format. I like things to be quiet. I don't want to have chaos around me. So I really feel very paradoxical that way. But I feel like for a church to succeed and for the church, the big C, to continue to grow, it has to get uncomfortable in its own skin to build a new one, kind of like a snake. And it can keep growing and keep slithering around. And I'm trying to extend this metaphor, but I don't know. I'm being an asp. aside from the fact that I feel like anytime we do communion, we're almost doing a disservice to the Last Supper because we are barely getting a bite to eat.
Yeah.
That-
So communion should be a full meal.
I
not
really- I believe
a little
so.
square of bread
Yeah.
dipped into a little, drop. of
100%,
juice.
and the whole community, is open. It doesn't have to be even done during the service. We love our chicken barbecues and other things that we try to do to make money at church. Why not just have like a table open outside the church for people to come and dine with you? It doesn't even have to be, in church. There's the cliche that, well, if you were a pastor and you went there on Sunday and nobody was at your church, would you still give your sermon? I don't know the answer to that or not, but to carry it in your heart, 100%. Like there's a practicality side of things, but we get so muddled in church. It feels like of all the stuff that we think is supposed to matter, or maybe it's stuff that we feel like we actually can control, than just letting go and letting things be. Again, let it be. Another,
Yes.
another song connection.
More classic rock.
Yep. Beatles, Beach Boys, essential to our and Monkees. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. No, she showed me the entire series, and it still holds up to this day, in my opinion. Except for the last couple episodes, they really kind of go off the beaten path there. Being a sitcom aficionado myself, but I'm not a big coffee hour guy. My God, when church is done, I want to get the heck out of there. But that doesn't mean that, that would be best for everyone. It's just not my cup of tea, so to speak, coffee. It's complicated because I feel like I'm a walking contradiction when it comes to this. When you include children, particularly our children, and you being the pastor's children, there's an expectation that's put on everyone and anyone in the family, especially the pastor, that the children are going to behave like little purse dogs and be nice little accessories. Displays. They're not. They're loud. And they're very chaotic. And, being a television in a technical field, you hit the wrong button, the wrong thing goes in air. You hit the right button, the right thing goes in air. Oh, okay. You cannot apply that to being a parent in any way, shape, or form, especially with special needs.
This is the one way that parenting cannot be engineered.
No.
Because kids are not computers.
No, there is no binary here. It's not one way is right and one way is wrong. It worked yesterday, does not mean it's going to work the next day. And that is so hard for me when I first started as a parent to really grasp, because it just logically doesn't make sense to me. But children aren't logical, nor do they make much sense.
No.
People aren't, frankly. But yeah, no, I would love church to have all races, creeds, religions, LGBTQ inclusion, and like, we don't even need to necessarily have, like a structure of like, every day there's, the calling hours there, and then we've got to list, whatever events that we're going on about. Like, there might be times where world events or personal events supersede that, and it's less of a service and more of just conversation. I would love church to be more fun. I would love people to feel like they could say and do anything. God, the gentleman, I think he's probably passed at this point. What was his name? John. He sat in the way back of it was a Church with the Chickens. Benton. Yeah. What was his name? Tom.
Yes. No. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because he didn't even sit in the pews. He sat like in the chairs that like in the community.
Yeah,
but every week he would share joys and concerns, and his main joy and concern was that he just wanted to say God bless you to everybody and thank you for coming, and like that's like enough, like it doesn't need to have all the bells and whistles attached to it. I'm a TV guy. I'm a tech guy. At one point, I was tasked with trying to install like video and audio in a church, and oh my God, like I know there's money to be made there. It's a hell of an industry, but frankly, I think you've kind of got you've lost the narrative here a little.
Yeah, ironically, don't make Sean your primary tech guy at church, even though it's the thing he's the most good at. Because what you want to do at a church for Sean is just be you.
Yeah, no,
just be Sean.
Yeah, and that's very difficult even with our own kids. Again, God bless them, because I want to protect your reputation, which the kids are a direct reflection of, as we've learned. And I also want to protect our kids just safety-wise, where with Daniel, you have to always be on him. So, it used to be baby bodyguard, and oh my God, going back to Benton and that nursery there'd be, this kid would be just howling nonstop during the service, and I'm there rocking him, trying, to put on a smiling face there, and like, You know, I don't think it should be really a problem if parents have to face that. And you know it is, because everybody, whether they're looking at you or not, all their eyes, their mind's eye is focused on you. And like, I mean, I shockmastered my way right through the baby gate once, and there's a reference for the wrestling fans, trying to keep Daniel at bay. My God.
So so among some of the things that you're saying, church needs to be radically fully inclusive.
100%.
Church needs to be,
And that 100% can evolve to 105% over time. Like, I'm sure at one point 60 years ago, we thought we were there. We're not anymore. So we can...
yeah, because we constantly realized that we had blind spots that
Exactly.
we didn't see a generation ago.
And I learned that just growing up in the Gilded 90s, how misinformed I was about some things, because I thought some things were just the way they were.
Church also needs to be a place where we're all in active evolution and conversation with one another.
Yeah.
And church needs to be a place where, even though a lot of us like cleanliness and organization, and a lot of us feel kind of comforted by it,
Yes.
there needs to be big spaces for mess, because otherwise you're leaving a lot of people right out.
And also equally big spaces for people like me that don't want to mess, you know?
And yet are in it anyway.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. And I appreciate you actually putting bullet points here, because while I had a pretty firm idea how to answer the dad question.
I'm a public speaker.
Yeah, I know you are. But this one was a lot more half-baked, because I know what I want to say is the right answer, but for me personally, honestly, that doesn't sound that much fun. That's kind of the whole point, though. It's okay to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know? And so many churches, oh, God, something's different. The candles are the wrong color. Like, insert eye roll here.
Yeah.
You know?
And really, we're two millennials saying this. Like, and as it is in greater society, millennials, we're pushing 40. Neither of us are there yet, but we're getting there. We're pushing 40. We have kids in middle school now. We're middle-aged adults. And the Gen Zs are looking at us like, oh, you're still wearing skinny jeans, old people? Come on, get over it. You're still on Facebook. But in church, we're the babies still,
right.
even though we're pushing 40. And we are deeply, deeply underrepresented. And there's a reason why, because I think a lot of us really want this. We want to be able to talk to each other so openly and so candidly.
Yes.
We want to be in conversation and to have our feelings and our experiences taken seriously. And even if messes are very uncomfortable, we need to be able to just be in them together and have them be visible in public sometimes, because they're gonna be. Especially with, an autistic child. It's absolutely inevitable.
Yeah.
And, and we can tell when we walk into a place if this is going to be the type of place where we can all be together as a family, or if it's going to be the type of place where it's going to be like your rich aunt's house and you better not have your shoes on the carpet.
What are they, ducks?
Yeah. But anyway, like, we've been to several of those churches, and then those, we've seen folks ask time and time again, like, what do we have to do to get the young people here? Well, you're hearing it. You're seeing it and you're hearing it. This is what we need. We need to be welcome.
Yeah.
And we need to be authentically and enthusiastically welcome, with no restrictions and no inhibitions.
I'm going to help you this time.
Thank you.
I was watching your levels.
Chief Engineer at WROC TV, Sean Allen Bowerman. Such a master.
No, jack of all trades, master of none.
Oh, but you're an expert in Godzilla.
I mean, even then, there's always a bigger fish.
There always is, but this is
there's several big fish behind us.
This is a very impressive room, and y'all are only seeing a portion of it.
Yeah, I know.
So, the question I have ended every podcast interview with, as long as I've been doing this, and the one that I am very attached to and very proud of. If you could tell the world one thing about God, what would it be?
Forgive the pregnant pause. I really do want to give this some thought, because I know what I want to say, but how to frame it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's not anything groundbreaking, but God appears to all of us, no matter what religion or faith. Even if we don't have faith, they're still there. in some form or another. And I have definitely seen and felt that presence on several occasions. Listen hard, and take the advice. Trust your instincts, because normally that's the sign that someone's tapping on your shoulder to go a certain way, or they're maybe giving you a reason that maybe you shouldn't do this sort of thing. You don't believe in things like karma and fate, and I'm as superstitious as the day is long, but I do believe that there are other forces at work sometimes, because Lord knows when it comes to bringing a life into this world, there's more to it than just the biology. Absolutely, you see God in your children's eyes. God, she, they stopped me from walking out of your dorm in seminary that one night. They told me when it was time for me to change my phone number. I remember it. I felt it in the wind. And, when I was at my, believe it or not, even beyond the winter of discontent, the worst time in my life, when I was unemployed from television and really struggling with mental health, which I'm bipolar and I take antidepressants, but that doesn't mean that fixes everything. God worked through you to help me find Channel 10 in Albany. You pushed me to get back in there because you knew it was best for me and our family. And then God also was there for us when things changed and that part of our life ended. So, I know about the ethereal theological, iconography of what we think of when we think of God. I think it is much more nuanced than that personally. So what was the question again?
If there was one thing.
Oh, that's the hard part about that. One thing.
What would you say about God?
When God speaks, you should listen and learn.
I love it. And I love you.
I love you too, Natalie.
A Church for Daniel is produced with love by the Reverend Natalie Bowerman.